Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Today is Wednesday, January 6th, and we are resuming, as the Charter Commission, we are resuming our first meeting of the year to discuss sections 4 through 6. I hope every single member had a wonderful celebration of the new year and also wonderful holidays. So I'm excited to have all of you here today. I know that it is a turbulent day for our country this evening. However, I admire everyone's commitment and responsibility to be here today, as we have a very important task in front of us, which is to review the charter the charter this year, so we can have something to present to our council at some point later in the month, hopefully aggressively by early February. So I commend all of you who have shown up today to do your duty, what you were appointed to do. So thank you so much, and I hope that we keep our fellow citizens of Washington, D.C., elected staff members, and also public officials in our prayers. That being said, let's begin with our charter review today. We will be discussing sections 4 through 6, and I will begin with attendance. Judith Garcia, present. Leo Robinson. Here. Calvin Brown.
Here.
Melinda Vega Maldonado. We have some members virtually, and Melinda Vega Maldonado going once, going twice. Marquez absent. Todd Taylor.
I'm here.
Present. Rosemary Carlisle. Rosemary Carlisle. Okay, Marquez absent. Yesenia Alfaro. Yesenia Alfaro, if you can unmute yourself. I see her. So Marquez present. Henry Wilson. Henry Wilson. Okay, Marquez absent. Alex Barcalcel.
Present.
Mary Burke.
Present.
Jason Stalker.
Present.
Charlene McLean. Charlene actually excused herself. She has a late day at work, so she will not be attending. She excused herself ahead of time. Miriam Rakentor.
Present.
Thank you very much. Before we start the meeting, just a reminder to everyone that if you have any comments, questions, please do not write in the chat. Please raise your hand. You'll be acknowledged so you can speak. We cannot be writing anything on the chat simply for public record. We need to make sure that we remain transparent for the public. So that being said, thank you for everyone who has been present. Now, I will briefly discuss what our duty is, just for the members of Facebook, YouTube, and Comcast that may be watching. This is the Charter Review Commission. Everyone here was appointed to review and provide recommendations to the City Council for any changes that we would like to see implemented on the Charter. So we are currently in the phase 2 of this project. Phase number 1 was to read the entire charter, have active discussion of each section, and bounce around ideas of things that we wanted to change and recommend. And now we currently are discussing the package that includes all the recommendations of every single member here, of any recommendation that they had, not only the members of this specific commission, but also members of the public who also had recommendations of changes they want to see implemented in the charter. So right now we're in the phase of strictly discussing some of those recommendations and changes so we can introduce a final packet to the City Council. So that being said, that's a role of this commission. The commission is composed of City Council members, residents, and key stakeholders here. So my apologies, school committee members, council members, and residents of our community. So that's who you will see virtually here and also in person. That being said, now I want to move on to open it to the public speaking portion. I do not have any emails or letters from anyone, but I do have a member of the community who would like to speak on the public speaking portion, so I will go ahead and open the floor. I'm acknowledging Roy Avellaneda as one of those people. You have the floor.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to go into section by section, but
No, public speaking.
the suggestion that I had sent in earlier for the board to, the commission rather, to take a look at was to add a new section in section 6. And I'm sorry, the section would be 6.4, and it would be titled Zoning Board of Appeal. It was mimicking very much a lot of the language that is provided in the section for the Traffic Commission. And what it provides is the ability for the City Council to confirm and approve any special permit that is issued by the zoning board. Why I think this is important is because, first of all, as a longtime counselor, I know that myself and my colleagues, more than anyone else, really hear most from the residents when it's any feedback regarding projects that are either being proposed or have been approved. And with that goes a lot of sometimes anger and feeling that their voices are not being heard, despite some maybe going to the zoning board. And I don't want to blame the zoning board for what it can or cannot do or whatever it proves, but the manner in which the zoning board and the planning board review some of these proposals are through a very limited lens than what the city council or a city councilor does. They're not going into the financial impacts that sometimes we know about. They're not going into many of the community impacts that a project may have. And even if it was, some of the mitigation that can be required or asked about is off the books, or rather outside the scope of what a zoning board can or cannot ask. That isn't the case if the zoning board, the Chelsea City Council had the ending approval vote. And again, this would only be on the special permits. So I believe that there are times when community mitigation must be part of a proposal that may make a significant impact. And that's the reason why I believe that this is a nice checks and balance. I want to say that this is not the first community that does this. There are many communities that require a final approval from its Board of Aldermen, Selectmen, or City Council, and that we already have this in place when it comes to the Traffic Board. That's exactly where this section is from, that when the Traffic Board makes a decision, it has to be approved. The final say is an approval by the City Council. And there are other things that the City Council does final approval also, whether it's members of the commission, even though they're appointed by the city manager, they have to be approved by City Council. So this is nothing new. We're not in uncharted territory, but I think it's important for the City Council to have this tool in their bag so that if and when a project may need to be reviewed outside of the lens and scope of what the zoning board does and the planning board does, it offers this opportunity. So I ask that the Charter Review Committee look at this intensively and vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comment from the public? Okay, there's no one here from the public besides Roy. So anything else you want to say? Because I will close the public speaking portion. All set? So that part of the meeting is closed. Public speaking is closed. And now we will begin with officially reviewing what's in front of us, which I hope you all have, which is the packet. And we will begin with Section 4. Section 4 discusses city manager. So the first item of business in front of us is a proposal from Miriam Rakentor for Section 4.1. In Section 4.1, under qualifications, last paragraph, replace residence requirement with bilingual requirement. So I will give the floor to Mimi to see if there's anything you want to add.
I want to withdraw the bilingual because of previous discussions, but I would like to say that I still would like to see if we can eliminate the city requirement, because we have not had a city manager live since 2000, so we're talking over 20 years. The city has thrived without it. I think it limits us with the ability to attract other people who may want the job. So I understand that they can request a waiver, but I would think if we can eliminate some of those steps, it might open up when the need arises for us to find a new city manager.
Okay, so would you like to amend what we have in front of us? So essentially,
Yeah, if that's possible.
okay,
Yeah.
so, and just to clarify,
I understand why the bilingual is wrong. I definitely understand that, so I apologize. So,
okay, so would you, so what we have in front of us is amend, so you want to withdraw the bilingual requirement, and you want to propose to eliminate the waiver of such requirement.
the waiver of living in the city, correct?
Okay, so give me 1 second to amend that, and then we can take it to a vote, and we can open it for discussion. So we
Thank
can,
you.
I apologize, I mean, let me amend it. We can open it for discussion, and we can take it up for a vote. So we will remove bilingual requirement. We would leave established residence within the city for 12 months following appointment, and remove unless the city council shall waive such requirement. So essentially what we have in front of us is simply an amendment to remove bilingual requirement, and we're going to be voting on the city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the Commonwealth at the time of appointment, but shall meet established residence within the city within 12 months following appointment, and remove unless the city council should waive the requirement. So that's what we're voting on, removing requirement. Is there,
No, isn't her request to say that they don't have to have any residency requirement within the city limits?
Correct.
oh, I apologize, I misunderstood you. Thank you, Jason. So
Okay.
your request is to remove the requirement of having to live in Chelsea?
Correct.
Okay, so remove the requirement, okay.
Yes.
So it should just end at the appointment. The city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the Commonwealth at the time of appointment.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Jason. At the type of appointment, and leave it at appointment. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, team. Awesome. Okay, so everyone knows what we're voting on. So we amended it to read, the city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the Commonwealth at the time of appointment, period. We're
Yeah,
all good?
I don't know. I guess I think I'd like to go back and see what else is in that section, because if you leave it like that, you almost imply that they never have to live in the Commonwealth either, and they can work remotely.
No,
Right.
well,
Well, if you're saying they don't have to establish any residency, that's saying they don't have to.
well, they have to physically be in the city. They have to come into the city for work, but,
Okay.
There is another section of the charter that requires that if he leaves the city or the country, he has to inform the city council and appoint an acting. So he basically requires him to be at work in Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Okay, thanks for connecting the dots, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you, that helps. And I see Mary. So Mary, you have the floor. You're on mute.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. It would also be part of the hiring process and the interview process, where the expectations would be you are going to be living in Massachusetts, and you can put it in the job posting even.
Okay. Give me just 1 second, everyone. We're having a bit of technical difficulties. If we can raise the volume for the IT team that's here, if we can raise the volume of the screen so I can hear the members who have joined us virtually, that would be helpful. Sorry, team. It's a bit difficult for me to hear you. Mary, I might ask you to repeat yourself one more time. Meanwhile, I get the volume to go up in just 2 seconds here.
Okay, does that work?
Can you say it again?
So it would also be part of the hiring process. Not only put it in the job posting, the expectation is that you are a resident of Massachusetts, but also the expectations when you're interviewing.
Okay, great. So just for purposes of clarification and for public record, are we satisfied with what's in front of us as it has been updated by Mimi and Jason? Calvin, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
And then Jason.
So I'm getting the idea that it's actually only talking about it's a requirement for unemployment. Once you're employed, then you would have to follow whatever the definition is defined as your title and your job description. So what I understand is Mimi is stating that she wishes to strike the word out that the city manager does not have to live in the city. He can live in Gloucester, he can live in Worcester, but as long as he show up to work here when he's employed, and he can go out of the country on vacation to do what he wants, but he still has to inform the city council, correct?
Correct.
So I will be voting no against this. Because again, I think what we have now in the charter, we have some consideration if I know a lot of the positions that we've been trying to get and really fill with residents for Chelsea is that it be that you consider living in the city. We've been trying to do it with the police exam. We've been trying to do it with the new positions that we just created. So I don't think it's fair to now get relaxed on the opportunity. The city council still has the waiver ability if they wish that this person is a superior candidate and just cannot manage to move in the city because he or she may already have a family rooted, then we can have that discussion. But I still think it's important to have it in the clause of the hiring process. That's
Okay.
my thought.
So Councilor Brown, so in your case, are you in favor of how it is right now?
Correct.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry, and just for clarification, you're in favor of how it is presented on the charter?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That helps. Jason, I see your hand.
I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't trying to become a proponent of it with Miriam. I was just trying to reiterate what she was saying because I think it was being misinterpreted.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, you were incredibly helpful for me as well to understand her point. So I appreciate that. Okay, so essentially and just before we continue discussion, I want to make sure, can you guys give me a thumbs up if you hear us clearly with no feedback? You guys are good? Okay, great. Great. So essentially, is there anyone else who would like to discuss the matter in front of us? Okay. So as is right now, what I have, and feel free to interrupt me if I misunderstood anything. So what we have in front of us is the proposal, the recommendation by Mimi Rekentor, which is to make a change to section 4.1 to read as follows. The city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the Commonwealth at the time of appointment. And then the other option that you have is to leave it as is, to leave the the requirement as is on the city charter. So those are the two options in front of you. If there's no more discussion, we can go for a vote. A yes vote would be in favor of the recommendation in front of us, which is the recommendation that Mimi suggests, and a no vote is to leave it as the charter has originally presented itself. Is that clear? We're good? Okay, great. So we'll take it for a vote. Again, yes means you're supporting Mimi's recommendation. A no is leave as is. So we begin, let me just record here. We begin with myself, Judith Garcia. I will say no. Leo Robinson?
Yes.
Yes. Calvin Brown? You're on mute.
No.
One more time, yes or no?
No changes. I disagree with the
So it's a no.
recommendation.
Okay. Melinda Vega Maldonado? Melinda Vega Maldonado is absent. Todd Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. Rosemary Carlisle?
Yes.
Okay. Yesenia Alfaro?
No.
Okay. Henry Wilson? Henry Wilson?
Yes.
It's a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Alex Barkelsen?
No.
Mary Burke? You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm just gonna leave it unmuted, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Jason Stalker?
No.
Okay. Charlene McLean is absent. And Miriam Ragentor?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. 2 absent. The motion passes. Meaning that the recommendation passes to be added and included into the packet that we introduced to City Council. So for anyone who's watching, that's what it means. Okay, so now we move on to the next section, which is section 4.
Judith.
Yes.
Hi. Can you, just for transparency, can you just read exactly what it would be now? Because it's pretty clear, but just can you read it?
Yes, absolutely. So the recommendation was accepted by a majority of those present, and now the section would read as follows. The city manager need not be a resident of the city or of the Commonwealth at the time of appointment, period. Okay? So that's
Thank you.
that's what it is. So we close discussion because we already voted on that. So now we move on to the next section. Great. So section 4.3, which is a motion presented to us by Jason Stalker. And the recommendation reads as follows. We're at section 4.3F. The sentence should have or requested added to the end of it. So it should read as follows: to ensure that complete and full records of the financial and administrative activity of the city are maintained, and to render reports to the City Council as may be required or requested. So I will give the floor to Jason so he can provide any more background or if he wants to say anything else. So Jason, the floor is yours.
No, I don't think it needs, it was more to outline so that the city manager knows that they can be called upon to provide these reports at the wish of City Council versus limiting it to just required based on some other statute.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's not, I think it's great. So I'll open it up for any more discussion. Does anybody feel strongly in favor, strongly against? Mary, go ahead. You're on mute again. We're going to have to unmute you.
Okay, so a question, they provide the information now as requested, am I right?
Yes.
That's part of the job and the expectations, right?
I assume as much.
So do we really need to codify it?
I mean, I always think it's better to put more in there on what the expectation is instead of relying on what the unwritten precedent is at this point.
I see Leo. Go ahead, Leo.
Oh, actually, we do get reports on the finances from the city manager, and the city council oversees all the city finances, as we have our own auditors who review all the books and do a presentation to the city council along with the city manager and the assistant city manager.
Okay, Councilor Brown.
Yeah, I know what Jason's trying to say, but this is a job. This is something that's already take place, as Councilor Robinson stated. Not only do we do it from the Finance Committee, we also have an evaluation where we do part of an annual evaluation and expectation, and we also have folks that come in to give us an annual audit. So, and that's a document, and that's a period that's open to the public also. It's just making the public aware of it. It should just be making the public aware of it, where they know they can engage in it. But it's something that we do. It's called checks and balances. We do that probably twice a year.
Under the law, financial records are public. Anybody can request them, regardless if you're a city councilor, and have them upon receipt.
Okay. Great. So anyone else have any comments, suggestions, feelings? Okay, great. So we can take it to a vote. Honestly, I'm not strongly against it. I think it's just stating something that is already happening. So again, what's in front of you, you have two options right now. We'll take it for a vote since we've closed discussion. And if you a yes vote would be supporting the proposal, the recommendation in front of us, which is to add or requested at the end of this sentence, of this section, and a no vote is to leave it as is. Leave it as is basically means leave it as it has been originally presented on the charter. So if Councilor Brown, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe if I can ask Jason if he would like to try to clear this. I mean, this is something that you can do. This is something that anyone, as Cheryl just stated, has access to. I'm just trying to figure out why are we trying to change it or add something. What are we looking to get out? Maybe if it's something that I'm not sure about, then I'll have a different perspective of voting. But as of right now, it's something that's it's a part of the job title.
Yeah, and I guess that if it's in the job title, I haven't looked at the whatever job description would go out for the expectations of the city manager. But if this was to highlight what some of those are, then it's not matching up with what the expectation is that's outlined in the job description, right? And so while I understand Cheryl's point that anybody can ask for the financials at any time, they're public, that's fine, and I agree, that makes sense. But I think to say here that they only need to provide them when they're required, I felt like it wasn't being, they weren't serving as, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. I just felt that it was more clear if we say that anytime the city council asks for it, they have to provide it, versus just saying that it was required from some other piece. Maybe you can get comfortable that required would mean the statute, so it's public, so if anyone comes for it, public or not, then that's the requirement. That's fine. I understand that.
Yeah.
That
Go ahead,
line.
Councilor Brown.
So just for clarification, public records are, if you request something by public records, or if you request something, the person or the agency has 10 days to respond. So it's something that's there. I mean, I just don't want to put just unnecessary language in the charter as to state that we change something, because I understand what you're saying. And as you get involved in this, and you've done a great job being involved in this commission here, you'll find out more than you knew before, and find out all this stuff is pretty much right at our fingertips. We just have to engage ourselves and request it, because the public records requires you, whether you want to do it or not. If it's public records, if you want to see my voting history, you can request that from the city clerk, and they have 10 days to respond. So it's no different from financial documents. That's what the transparency of the cities and towns are, should be anyway. So I really don't honestly see anything that we'll gain by putting this in there. It seems like it's a demand, and it doesn't really necessarily have to be a demand. It just has to be an act. That's all I have to say, Madam Chair.
Okay. Great. So again, I appreciate the feedback. I don't know, Jason, if you want to respond. Honestly, if you feel one way or the other, you can go ahead and vote in favor or against. I don't want to complicate it too much for Jason.
I don't have anything else to add.
Jason, you're good. Okay. So great. So if everyone's ready, we can take it to a vote. So yes is supporting the recommendation in front of us. A no is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just for some clarification.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you can speak into the mic.
These things are actually already taking place.
Yeah.
And actually, all things go through the Finance Committee. And if there are any irregularities, that the Finance Committee would pick it up besides what the auditors would present and show where things are not being properly done. You know, because there's a state audit, a federal audit, and we get to see all those documents. And any time that a city council wants to make a request in regards to a financial matter, the city manager responses by the next meeting to give an update on what that situation is.
Okay. And just, you know, before we take this to a vote and to make it clearer, I will ask for our city solicitor's input here. My understanding and the way it reads, I believe that what Jason's presenting is something I understand, and I think it's been very clear that we already do this, and it's a procedure that's already been practiced. My understanding when I read this and it was presented by Jason, I figured this is something that essentially what he's doing is he understands we do this, he just wants to have it in writing. So is it earth-shattering, Cheryl, or if we vote in favor?
So, so there are certain financial documents under the law that have to be provided to the city councilor and are required to be timely, such as like the budget and other matters, right? Requests for loan documents. So I believe those required ones needed to be set out, and these are list of tasks. So this is part of the job duties. Everyone keeps saying the job duties of the city manager. These are those required under the charter. Those are those job duties required under the city charter. Requested really doesn't mean much because it's under the law that they can get whatever they request. We can't deny city councilors their document. They work for the city manager. If he doesn't give them the documents they want, they could terminate him. So required, it's kind of weird, but it gives it more teeth. Those required, it's a broader term saying there are those that are required that you have to give.
Okay, and just for clarification for the public, Jason's request was to add or requested, not to eliminate required. So
to eliminate?
Not
okay,
to eliminate
so
required.
I would say.
So he's just adding or requested, so not eliminating.
Okay, so it doesn't really change anything by saying or requested.
Yeah,
that's all. It doesn't change it.
That's how I feel. Yeah, so again, I'll repeat that. He's not eliminating or required. He's just asking to add or requested, which is something that we already do. So that's why I think it's really not earth-shattering if you support it. It's just stating the obvious. So that's where it is. So if everyone's okay, we'll take it to a vote. Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson?
Yes.
Calvin Brown? Calvin? Yes or no, Calvin?
No.
No? Okay. Melinda Vega Maldonado? Melinda Vega Maldonado, please unmute yourself. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Todd Taylor?
No.
Rosemary Carlisle?
Yes.
Okay. Yesenia Alfaro?
Yes.
Okay. Henry Wilson?
Yes.
Alex Barcalcel?
No.
Mary Burke?
Yes.
Jason Stalker?
Yes.
Okay, Shirley McLean is absent. Miriam Racantor.
Yes.
Okay, so we're counting 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 in favor, 3 opposed, 1 absent. The recommendation passes. Okay, we move on to the next item, which is also a recommendation presented by Jason Stalker, is on section 4.30. And the suggestion is changing any to all to read as follows: to inquire into the affairs of all city department, agency, or office. That is the recommendation in front of us. Jason, I give you the floor. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in case you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I just think it's a more encapsulating word than any. Any seems limiting. All just seems bigger.
Okay, sounds fair. Anyone else? Any opening to discussion? Anyone feel strongly against? Okay, seems like no, so I will go ahead. We'll take it to a vote. A yes vote is you are in support of the recommendation in front of you. A no vote is you want to leave it as is presented on the original charter, the charter in front of us. So we will begin.
Can I have a question for Cheryl?
Of course, go ahead.
Cheryl,
Yes.
will we be interfering with the day-to-day operation in this manner?
No, because it doesn't really change what he's requesting, Leo.
Yeah.
Any or all is interchangeable here. You have the right, when it says any, it means all departments. So I don't think this should be a major debate. It's just language preference versus anything, whether, any does refer all. It doesn't limit you to just one or the other. Mm-hmm. Your inquiry into it you've been allowed to do it for years.
Yeah.
It's been in the charter since day one. It's just to inquire into the affairs, but they usually do it through the city manager when they respond to you.
Right.
Great. Thank you for the question and thank you for the clarification. So if there are any more questions. Okay, so we move on to a vote. A yes vote, you are in support of this proposal in front of us to change any to all. A no vote is you want to leave it as is, presented in the charter. We'll begin with me. My vote is yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown.
Yes.
Melinda Vega Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Okay, Yesenia Alfaro.
Yes.
Henry Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, Alex Marcancel.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Jason Stalker.
Yes.
Okay, Shirley McLean is absent. Miriam Racantor.
Yes.
Okay, so this motion passes by unanimous support. So all of you voted in favor, 1 absent. And now we move on to the next proposal in front of us, also by Jason. And his proposal is on section 4.8, and it reads as follows. Add to second paragraph that date of city manager review must be made on the internet and not just a newspaper. It must be made public on the internet and not just a newspaper. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory as well to keep up with the times, but I will give the floor to Jason to see if he wants to add anything else.
Nothing else to add.
Okay, so anyone feel strongly against? Anyone have any questions? Okay, I see no emotion strongly against, so we'll move it to a vote.
No.
I see Calvin Brown. Go ahead,
Now,
Calvin.
doesn't it state that it shall be posted on the internet in at least one newspaper? Is that 2 items he's asking to look at?
No, that is what he proposed. So
he's
that's how it
proposing
would
that-
read if we include what he proposed.
So that it should be posted on the internet
Yeah.
first, and then at least one time in a newspaper, correct?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
Jason's proposing.
Okay, I just want to make sure I read it right. That's not what
Good.
you said, though. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, thank you, Calvin. Yeah, anyone, feel free to ask any questions before you vote. So thanks for asking for that clarification. So again, if there's no strong feelings for or against, then we will go ahead and take it to a vote. And again, if you vote in favor, a yes vote means you're supporting the proposal in front of us introduced by Jason. A no vote is you want to leave it as is. Discussion is internet. Do we include this on the internet? So Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown.
Yes.
Melinda
With the
Vega
14 days.
Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro.
Yes.
Henry Wilson.
Yes.
Alex Barcasen.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Jason Stalker.
Yes.
Shirley McLean is absent. Mimi Rakentor.
Yes.
Okay, so this one again, we have all support. So there is 12 yes, motion is accepted, 1 absent. Recommendation is accepted. So we move on to the next, the next one and the last option for section 4.8. This recommendation was introduced by Mimi Rakentor, section 4.8. Besides the newspaper, add other outlets. It should state online to include social media, calendar, and general email. So this one would include social media, calendar, and general email. So that's what we have in front of us. Do you want to proceed, Mimi, with this one, or do you want to withdraw?
I think it's redundant, so we should withdraw it.
Right.
Did we just decide it should be on the internet?
Yeah, internet. We didn't add social media to it, so I leave it up to you.
I assume that included social media. I
Okay.
assume talk about different
Yeah,
platforms.
internet's pretty broad, so it could include social media. Okay, so then your motion is to withdraw.
Correct.
Okay. Great, thank you. So we withdraw that motion, and I'll keep a record of that. Okay, so now we move on to our next section, which is section 5, financial procedures. The first item of business in front of me is a recommendation introduced by Jason Stalker, comment on section 5.3A. And the request is add reference to publish information via internet. So this is similar to what we have, which again, keeping up with the times, but I'll give Jason the floor to see if he wants to add anything else.
Nothing else to add.
Okay, so anyone feel strongly against, Calvin Brown, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks again, Jason, for this interesting comment. But are we just generally meaning the posting of the meeting, or what are we meaning here? Is it just the notification that this financial document or meeting will take place? Is that what it's requesting?
Jason, I'll give you the floor. I understand what you mean, but I'll give Jason the floor.
Yeah, I think that this section replies to, previously you would have to put in the newspaper the date and time of the public hearing around the budget. And so now we're just saying that people also need to be made aware of it via the internet, which I think, like other things, is already happening. I think it's going on to chelseamass.gov. I think they're doing social media posts. So these things are happening. This is just to memorialize an action that's already happening.
So is on Chelsea's website, is that sufficient? That's what I want to make sure, because we're already doing those things. I'm not sure if you're asking us to do more.
Without getting into a marketing campaign, I would think that if it just says generally internet, you posting it on the city's website would satisfy that requirement.
Okay.
Versus if we went in more detail and said it needed to be on social media, or it needed to be specifically on Twitter or something, then you'd be really pigeonholing the government on what they had to do, right? Where they had to display it.
Okay. I understand. I just wanted to hear it. Thank you.
Thanks. the two of you for the conversation and the dialogue. And if I may, well, Leo, go ahead.
I mean, we're pretty much already doing these things, and also there are at the city clerk's office, people can access the budget, and also at the library. You know, so there are some of those things that we've been doing and that have been in place for a long time.
Yeah, great. And just to piggyback off that, I'm actually in favor of this. I think it just states what we're already doing, but it's very important to have it in writing. Again, you know, for the members who are watching on TV, YouTube, Comcast, the charter gets reviewed every 10 years. So we don't necessarily have the opportunity to include some of these things that we've incorporated. And as of today, 2021, this commission is live on Facebook right now. It's live on YouTube. And adding via internet on the internet is just stating what we already do. So I'm personally in favor of this. I think it's just as Jason, the person who proposed this, already stated, it's basically to immortalize what we've already been doing. So I'm not against this. But again, is there anyone here who would like to speak strongly in favor against? Okay. We'll take it to a vote. A yes vote is you are in favor to adding on the internet to this specific section, which is section 5.3A. It's something that we're already doing, just stating the obvious. A no vote is you want it to remain the way it's always read in the original draft. So we start with myself. It's a yes vote for me. Leo Robinson?
I'll go yes.
Okay. Calvin Brown? Yes, Calvin.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Melinda Vega Maldonado?
Yes.
Todd Taylor?
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle?
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro?
Yes.
Okay. Henry Wilson?
Yes.
Great. And Alex Marcasal?
Yes.
Okay. Mary Burke?
Yes.
Jason Stalker?
Yes.
Okay. Charlene is absent. And Mimi Rackentore?
Yes.
Okay. So this overwhelmingly passes with everyone's support. 12 in favor, 1 absent. Recommendation is accepted. We move on to section 5.32, which reads, this was presented by Mimi Rackentore. On section 5.3, item 2, change the dates to July 1st to June 30th, same as the state budget. So I will give the floor to Mimi.
Well, isn't the city budget on a calendar year?
Cheryl?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, but I'll give Cheryl
No,
the
it's
floor.
not. It's on the fiscal year. It's July 1 through June 30th,
You should
just like
withdraw
the
it.
state. Yeah.
Then we can withdraw this.
Withdraw? Okay,
Withdraw.
so
Thank you.
okay, thank you. So the author of this recommendation has asked to withdraw this specific section. Okay, so now we move on to the next recommendation in front of us, which is by Jason, section 5.4. And the section reads as follows. Well, the recommendation, section 5.4C, add reference to publish information via internet. Jason, I'll give you the floor.
Nothing else to add.
Nothing else to add. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory to include internet, catch up with the times on the charter. So that being said, anyone feel strongly in favor or against or have any opinions? Calvin.
No, I just want to thank you, Jason, for this because, you know, our chairperson keeps saying it. We're just actually catching up with the time. And this past year has taught us a lesson how we need to invest more into the internet. And also it's another mechanism that we have available for us. But, you know, I know there's some conversation, but a lot of these things are done, but it does make sense just to ask to have it put up on the website. We have been doing it, but now it's known that it's a requirement that we have it up. So I appreciate your consideration and your thought and reading through the small print here and figuring out that we don't have something that we all have is a computer, but we need to access it with City Hall. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Brown, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think he raises a good point, and also thanks to the staff who's actually working here, some late hours, IT team, and Ricky as well, who's in the back, ensuring that we're streaming this live on internet, on digital platforms. So a big shout out to the guys who you can't see, who are in the back rooms, getting this streamed live to YouTube, to Facebook, our RT team who have made it possible for many of you guys to join virtually during this COVID time. So thank you, Jason, as well. So that being said, let's bring it to a vote. Yes, is you're in favor of Jason's recommendation, which is to add things on the internet, this specific reference. So I'll make it clear. It's to add capital improvement program public hearings to the internet, not only the newspaper. So a yes vote, you're in favor. A no vote, you leave it as is. Beginning with me, Judith Garcia, it's a yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown.
Yes.
Melinda Vega, Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro.
Yes.
Henry Wilson.
Yes.
Alex Barcalcel.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Okay, Jason Stocker.
Yes.
Okay, Charlene McLean is absent. Mimi Rackentore.
Yes.
Okay, so it overwhelmingly passed by majority of those present, one absent. Recommendation accepted. We move on to the next item. Also a recommendation presented by Jason Stocker, section 5.4D, to read as follows. And here's the recommendation. It might be easier to state at any time after the public hearing, but at least 30 days before the end of the fiscal year end. So the change seems mostly just grammatical, but again, I'll give the floor to Jason to see if there's anything else he wants to add or explain.
I always think it's easier if we just pick physical days numbers. It's easier for people to count backwards. The way it states now is you have to go the first day before the last month of the fiscal year. You're doing a little bit more game of like, where are we, and counting backwards. Whereas if you just say 30 days before fiscal year end, that gives you the same exact date. But it's clearer, I think.
Okay, and just to clarify for public record, the way I'm understanding it is you're not changing anything of the dates, you're just making it more fluid and succinct to understand for your average person who's reading the charter.
Yeah, I think yes.
Okay, so again, there's no actual structural change, it's just a matter of making it easier to read for average person who's reading. But I see, Mary, you have a question, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, and maybe this is more of a Cheryl question, but you have at times years where the budget from the state, which informs the city budget, which all of those complications, doesn't come in actually in time, and so naming the June 30th may not be the best way, or 30 days before the end of the fiscal year. So for example, fiscal 21 budget, which should have been enacted by July 1st, this past July 1st, just was approved last night, finally, by the legislature due to the pandemic. It was, and so they've done like 3-month budgets to get us through until they can have the full one. So I don't know if this applies, Cheryl, in this case. If the definition of fiscal year is static versus it moves with whatever the budget is going to be enacted.
The fiscal year stays the same.
Okay.
Hence why this Commonwealth and or the feds always, if they can't do a whole year budget, they just do a couple of months to keep continuation of government. So the capital improvement plan is usually before the end of the fiscal year because we tend to know how much money we want to spend on the capital improvement plan. Everything can always be amended.
Yeah.
So if you require it a certain time, our city council knows that sometimes the city manager comes back, sometimes they don't, he doesn't, but you can always amend and reappropriate or appropriate money. So it's either way. I don't think you change change much of what this paragraph is and how it's reflected upon how the city manager does his job and how the city council acts.
Got it.
And my goal wasn't with the language wasn't to change how what the existing process is. I was just trying to easier define
Right.
the deliverable date.
Great.
Well, normally, in good years, it's usually brought up in April and kind of finalized by the end of April, because it's more of a wish list of all the projects that the city manager would like to see done. And sometime in the capital improvement plan, sometimes some of those monies get moved around because some of the projects are just not able to be done at that period of time. So there's a rollover of the money from the capital improvement plan.
Great, thanks for that, Leo, and Cheryl as well. So again, if there's no more discussion or feeling strong or against, I'll repeat what's in front of us, and we'll take it for a vote. So a yes vote is in favor of the recommendation in front of us, which is essentially leave everything the same, but just put it in a language that's easier for others to understand. And a no vote is leave it as is. So yes is recommendation, no is leave it as is. Starting with me, Judith Garcia is a yes. Leo Robinson.
No.
Calvin Brown. Calvin?
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Yes or no? No?
No.
Melinda Vega Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
No.
Rosemary Carlisle.
No.
Well, I'm sorry, yes or no?
No.
Yes? Okay. Yesenia Alfaro?
No.
Okay. Henry Wilson?
No.
Okay. Alex Barcalcel?
No.
Okay. Mary Burke?
Judith, just to make sure you got Rosemary's correctly, but my vote is no, but you might want to double check and just ask her.
Yes.
said
Rosemary,
no.
I have you as a yes.
He said no.
I said no.
Oh, you said no?
No.
Yes, he said no.
Okay, I just need to hear Rosemary, just for the record. Rosemary, the floor is yours.
Okay, I did say no.
No. Okay,
And
thank you.
no.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. So I have marked Rosemary as a no. She said no. Jason?
Yes.
Okay. Charlene McLean? Oh, sorry, guys. Oh, she's absent. She said she was absent. Sorry. It's getting late. Mimi Racantor?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 3 yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 no's. So majority of present said no, so the motion has been denied. Okay. We move on to the next section. Just double check here.
Chairperson Garcia, you can withdraw this. Reading this, I don't know why I said it, so you can withdraw this.
Okay, so according to the author of this recommendation is withdraw. So we will withdraw this motion, everyone. Okay, so we move on to section 5.6, which was also introduced by Jason. And section 5.6, the recommendation reads as follows: add reference to publish information via internet. Again, catching up with the times. Jason, anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. Anyone have any opinion strong against? Okay, we move on to a vote. So essentially what he's asking is for the annual audit to be included and published on the internet. It's already a motion. We practice, but this is simply just to add what we already do. So a yes vote is you accept the recommendation in front of us. A no vote is you leave it as is. Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown. Calvin?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda Vega Maldonado. Melinda Vega Maldonado, yes or no? Melinda Vega Maldonado. Going once? Going twice? Okay. So Melinda Vega Maldonado, I will mark as absent. Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Okay. Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro.
Yes.
Henry Wilson.
Yes.
Alex Marcalcel.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Jason Stalker.
Yes.
Charlene is absent, and Mimi Rakentor.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so
one.
motion,
Oh, nice.
please mute yourself. Motion passes with majority of those present, which is 12, one absent. And we move on to the next section, which is section 6. So now we are at an entirely different section. It's the last section of discussion today, which is section 6, administrative organization. The motion in front of us, the recommendation in front of us is by Jason, and it's section 6.2. The director listed is of inspectional services, not of inspection services. So this seems more like a grammatical change. Instead of saying inspection, it should say inspectional. But I will give the floor to Jason if there's anything else you want to add.
I was just tying this to what the person's title is based on the website listed.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Jason. Great. Any questions, feelings strongly for or against? I see none, so we'll take it to a vote. A yes vote is you are in favor of the recommendation. A no vote is you want to leave it as is. So we'll begin with me. I am a yes. Leo Robinson?
Yes.
Calvin Brown?
Yes.
Melinda Vega Maldonado?
Yes.
Okay, Todd Taylor?
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle?
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro?
Yes.
Henry Wilson?
Yes.
Alex Marcalcel?
Yes.
Mary Burke?
Yes.
Jason Stalker?
Yes.
Charlene is absent. Mimi Rakentor?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is all in favor. That puts us as 12, one absent. Recommendation is accepted. The next item is another recommendation introduced by Jason Stalker, section 6.3A, which, and here goes the recommendation presented, there is no director of community development. Change to the director of planning and development or the housing and community development director. So essentially it seems that he wants to have the charter read as we currently have titles on our website, but I'll give Jason the floor to speak.
Yes, and I don't know what the right answer is this, so I guess I'm looking for Cheryl or City Council to say who this right person really is that sits on this traffic and parking commission.
Housing and Community Development, Mr. Train is now assigned to traffic, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
It's the director of Housing and Community?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, so thank you so much, Cheryl, for clarifying that, and thank you so much, Jason, for introducing that. That is correct. So essentially, let me amend this so it can read the actual titles. So essentially, what Jason's proposing is to change the Director of Planning and Development to read Housing and Community Development Director. Okay? So he's simply asking for something that's already been established. If that's okay with you, Jason, I'll make the amendment for you.
Good.
Okay, great. So a yes vote is you are in favor of the change that Jason has requested, which has been practiced. So thank you, Jason. And a no vote is you want to leave it as is, which is inaccurate. But anyhow, yes vote, proposal, you're in favor of proposal. A no vote is leave as is. So we will start with me, Judith Garcia. It's a yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown.
Yes.
Melinda Vega Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro.
Yes.
Henry Wilson.
A participant
Yes.
has left the meeting.
Alex Marcalcel.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Jason Stalker.
Yes.
Mimi Rakentor.
Yes.
Okay, Charlene is absent, so this passes by a majority of those present, which means 12, one absent. Recommendation is accepted. We move on to another recommendation presented by Jason. Comment on section 6.3B. The last sentence should state that the regulations need to also be posted via the internet. So again, including things on internet, which we have already been doing, but just stating it. Sorry, Jason, anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else feel strongly against, favor? Okay, no discussion. We'll go on for a vote. A yes vote, you are in favor of Jason's proposal. A no vote is you want to leave things as they were before. Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown.
Yes.
Melinda Vega Maldonado.
Yes.
Todd Taylor.
Yes.
Rosemary Carlisle.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro.
A participant has joined the meeting.
Yes.
Yesenia Alfaro. Okay, yes. Henry Wilson.
Yes.
Alex Barcalcel.
Yes.
Mary Burke.
Yes.
Jason Stalker.
Yes.
Shirley McLean is absent. And Mimi Racantor.
Yes.
Okay, so this motion passes with the majority of those present. That's 12, one absent. The recommendation is accepted. And now we move on to, this is another recommendation presented by Jason. Comment on section 6. I would propose that this charter add in some existing commissions boards that were created via administrative order that have impact on decisions made within the city. In reviewing the list of about 16 on the city's website, I propose we add the following to the charter: Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, Community Preservation Committee, and Economic Development Board. And again, as he stated, this is something that he's already sent on our website, but I'll give Jason the floor in case he wants to add any more. Anything else?
I guess it was, I'll open it up for some conversation. I guess I was looking at, I know there, when you read through it, there's multiple ways for these commissions and boards to be created. And I was considering whether or not it was important for some of these ones that impact a lot of what happens in the city if we memorialize them in the charter so that an order couldn't be done where they then get removed. And so that was kind of where my mindset was. So I guess I see how other people feel, if that makes sense, or they don't think it's necessary.
Thanks, Jason. So again, he's open it for discussion. So I don't know if any of the members here feel strongly in favor or against, but I'll open it with this. I really appreciate that you acknowledge these boards. They are very important. They're very critical. I think we've heard from the public speaking portion today that some of these boards are just vital and they have a huge impact in our quality of life. So I honestly support this, that it be included on the charter, simply because of the level of not only the importance of the decisions that are being made in these commissions, but also to really acknowledge the city residents and stakeholders who volunteer their time to participate in these boards. So I am honestly in favor of it, but again, I open it up for discussion, and I see Cheryl has an opinion. So Cheryl.
So I'm just questioning, recognizing or saying their power. I mean, how do you put them in the charter? You know what I mean? That's why we have the administrative code.
So like, if you look at the licensing board, so we list licensing and traffic, right? That's all that's listed in here?
No, I know. No, like the Community Preservation Committee is a committee created under the law when we adopted the CPA.
Right.
The Economic Development Board is basically our redevelopment board that is created under the law, right? The Planning Board and Zoning Board, I believe you have something together. They are one is the special permitting. The Planning Board has authority under Chapter 40A, and the Zoning Board of Appeals is your special permit granting board. And what you have to recognize is in the past, the city determined that the volunteers on the board are residents and not elected officials to take away the political, in the past, corruption.
Sure.
But, right now, to just say, these are our boards, we already have them. I don't understand by just placing them in the charter when the administrative code is also online. What is it that you want on the charter? What changes do you want? The city manager appoints the members, except for the CPC, it kind of states how the members are appointed. The requirements, it's like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. Who can be appointed to that board is under state law.
So can you clarify then what might be the rationale for why the traffic and the licensing are listed in the charter, but the other ones, I know you said you've already explained how the other ones I listed were created. So what would be the rationale for traffic and licensing actually being listed in the charter?
That's a great question.
Because the way that the appointment on those two boards cannot be changed by the city manager. So the fact that the Traffic and Parking Commission is made up of mainly staff, and maybe a couple of residents, that cannot be changed unless it's through charter review. The fact that the licensing commission is on the board and it's made up of mainly residents and one staff person, that cannot be changed unless there's a charter change. So it's more restrictive when you put them in the charter versus the city manager could change the makeup of the Human Rights Commission or the other boards. But some of these boards are already, the makeup is under the state law, like 5 members of the zoning board.
So just,
Okay.
that was an excellent question. And just to clarify, because I'm interested as well. So these boards, and I agree wholeheartedly with Jason, these boards are very important. Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, Community Preservation, in terms of power. So you've stated, Cheryl, that the reason the boards that are actually listed on the charter is because we want to make sure that no one really touches the composition and it's written on the charter. So if these boards are equally as important, and I mean Zoning Board, Economic Development Board, I cannot think of anything more important than those two. Why can't we do the same and also limit anyone, messing around with the composition if they're so strong and powerful?
Because those particular 4 boards are very strongly written in state law.
Got it.
Okay.
Not a lot of cities and towns have a traffic commission. They have a director of traffic and parking, right? And they have professional staff, engineers who make up decisions, who bring it to the city manager or to the mayor. But in Chelsea, we have a traffic and parking commission. And we have, which has some power because we give them authority on the way our streets and roads go, not the parking clerk, right? And the licensing commission has a lot of authority that has a lot to do with the businesses in Chelsea. And there was a push to make sure that elected officials are not on the licensing commission in the past. That's on the charter. So it was to clear up, residents have a say, not elected officials, who have a say in everything else. They wanted residents to have a say.
Got it. So, and just let me paraphrase to see if I'm understanding. So essentially the boards that Jason has presented, which we don't deny are powerful, essentially what you're saying is there's already strict rules that those can't be changed, and that comes from the state. However,
No, not strict rules that they can't be changed, but strict rules on how to change them. So like tonight you have something before you about elected officials having the final say on the ZBA. Right? I'm not too sure that's actually legal the way we have ours set up, but that's something that the city, the residents have to say, because someone goes before a residential hearing and then they have to go through yet another hearing and they have all these rights and money's put in. To say that they then now have to negotiate with 11 councilors, who's going to develop here? But I'm just saying to you is that under the law, their authority is clear. Right?
Got it.
In Chelsea, licensing commission, we have a licensing commission as to liquor, but in Chelsea, our licensing commission reviews entertainment, it reviews tobacco, it reviews liveries and taxi cabs, so it's a little different than the way some other city or town does it. We tend to do, our zoning board of appeals tends to be standard in Plan E form of government.
Okay, so that the commissions, and that was the point that I wanted to get to, so the commissions that are actually on the charter, it's because it's up to each municipality to decide on the composition. It could be molded as municipality changes, so we wanted to put it here to ensure that the standards and expectations are clear.
No, the residents of Chelsea put it in the charter so that elected officials and a city manager cannot change the composition. That's all the charter does. Okay.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. Does anybody here have any questions? I know this one may be a little confusing for some. Anyone have comments, questions? Leo, I see you.
No, just for some clarification, all business in the past used to have to come through the city council. And then when he did the charter change, a lot of those things changed. So that didn't have to come before the city council.
Okay. So in your clarification, essentially what you're saying is many of these had to report to the council and we had to say on it.
Right, everything in past years came through the council. You know, from the zoning board, everything else was always voted on the council. Then it changed.
Yeah, speaking to the mic.
When it changed when he did the charter.
Okay, great. So that's a good, thank you, Leo. That's a good clarification for the public who might be watching and may not be as aware. So we appreciate that. Great. So, Calvin, I see you. Go ahead. Calvin, please, you're on mute, Calvin. So please start over.
Working now? Okay. I just wanted to say all these boards are important to the city, and this counselor here, I appreciate all the time and the service that they volunteer. But I think when we start going to trying to label and defining a powerful job over a powerful board over one or the other, I think sometimes that's what the notion was to try to get away with, that people in the past, through the corruption, wouldn't approach these board members now that they don't have to deal with the city council and try to do this. I think the way it's set up now, I think it works pretty good. You know, we haven't had any FBI or any folks arrested on either one of these boards since I've been on the city council, and I've been on the city council for quite some time. And I think they work very good. I think people volunteer their time. There's a handful by state statute to get a stipend, but for the most of the part, they're volunteer. There's no money involved, and people like doing the work. They're great help to the city, but I think we should just leave this one alone unless we look to start. You know, if you want to give boards power, you may want to think about changing them into being appointed instead of elected. Then you really get your money for your work. But right now, I think this year keeps us straight, keep us narrow, and we also have that citizen core that's not elected that may not want to go out and be elected, but they also may want to be very helpful and instrumental in helping the city develop and move forward. So I know Jason has a lot of great good thoughts and a good wording of what he's trying to do. But this one here, I think we should really be careful again how we try to put one board over another board with a power status. So,
thank you, Calvin. Jason, floor is yours.
I'm comfortable withdrawing this now. I needed to get the understanding on why we're differentiating between the different commissions within the charter and not within the charter, and I think that Cheryl outlined that clearly for me, so I don't think they need to be captured within this.
Okay, so the author of the recommendation has requested to withdraw, so thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for all the questions and input. Okay, so we move on to the next section, which is A recommendation introduced by a resident, Susan Backstrom, for Section 6, requests to add the Chelsea Disability Commission to the charter. So it's similar to the topic that that was just discussed. So
Yes.
nonetheless, for full transparency, I will read it, and if you guys, we can't withdraw it because the resident's not here, so we'll take it to a vote. And does anybody have any opinions? Strong, against? Essentially what's in front of us is to add the Chelsea Disability Commission to the charter.
Where?
Henry Wilson.
So the residents request is to, please, if you can mute yourself, everyone can, and anyone who's on, please mute yourself. We hear the echo. Again, what's in front of us is to request to add the Chelsea Disability Commission to the charter. We're still on Section 6, so this is to be added to Section 6. Any discussion? Leo, I see your hand.
I think to Cheryl, I think also by law, the Disability Commission was established.
Can you speak into the mic?
I said, I think by law, this is another one that was established by law.
By law. Okay. So as you may heard, this is already a topic that was discussed, and as Leo pointed out, this is something that's already been established by law. Nonetheless, we're going to take it as a vote because the resident's not here to withdraw. So if you are in favor of the motion, Calvin.
Yeah, because with fairness to the maker and also what was just said, shouldn't we just table this one and just let the maker of this motion know the reason why we voted or did not vote on it is because maybe it's under, the law and we're not aware of a certain clause. By voting on it, you actually, you voted down and, it may be a moot point, but I think we can give the maker of the motion an opportunity to address us and say, okay, I didn't know it was part of mass discrimination or so on, or one of the state agencies. And instead of just shooting it down tonight, one way or another.
Okay, so sorry, Councilor Brown, it's a bit, we have a lot of feedback here for some particular reason, but what I got from you is that you want to make a motion to move it, to table it.
Yeah, if it's okay. And you give the maker of the motion an opportunity to speak before us. You said we had to vote on it. I don't see why we should, especially in light what Leo just stated. If it's already created by a state statute that we're unaware of, why would we vote against it or for it?
Yeah. So just for clarification, this board, we did not set that in our laws, in our rules. We didn't set to table as a motion. So essentially what we could do, and I wholeheartedly, and I obviously agree with you, we should notify the resident. But we actually decided as a board to just vote yes or no on the recommendation. This is not something, again, this is just a recommendation that we're presenting to council. So we are going to vote on it. We can't table it because we didn't agree on that for our rules when we established this committee. So if you are not, obviously it seems that it's pretty redundant. We're going to have to vote no on it. But again, we will notify the resident. We actually send residents letters to let them know what the decision was and why. And I'm sure that she will understand that it was honestly just because state rules. So that being said, we will vote on it.
Before we vote on it, can we get an opinion from Cheryl?
Cheryl, go ahead.
So the reason, the interesting thing is that Chelsea has always had a human rights commission, and we reinstituted it. And when we started complying with the American Disabilities Act, we realized we should have a disability commission. And so we've only recently created the Disability Commission. Ms. Backstrom might be actually appointed to it, and that was our fault. It's not updated on the administrative code either, so I think that's what her issue is that we should at least recognize that we do have a disability commission. We are trying to get them and the Human Rights Commission to be involved. And for the record, we also want a diversity, equity, and inclusion person to be involved with this particular commission because it is probably one of our most vulnerable populations in Chelsea. And we're trying to make City Hall more compliant with ADA through the DPW Commission. So I I wish she was here tonight so that she could see the updates of what her commission and what the city is also doing together. So we do have one, and it was unfortunate that we just recognized that we now have, that we just instituted the commission.
And Cheryl.
So Leo is correct. By law, we should have had it all along.
So Cheryl, can you clarify for members who have been appointed to this specific commission for the charter review? So is it appropriate? Should we have this on the charter?
So are you trying to ensure who should be on the commission? Right now, the commission is made up of members of residents who have a form of disability and all forms of disability. The DPW commissioner actually is staff. He may actually sit on the board. So I'm not sure what putting it in the charter would do, unless you want to ensure that we always have a disability commission and it's not swallowed up by some other commission.
Yeah. So what the resident presented was to request to add the Chelsea Disability Commission to the charter. So it doesn't specify composition. It doesn't specify anything else.
Yes.
It just says,
yes.
So is it okay to do that?
Well, to just say we have one, I'm not sure what the point is.
Okay.
So what is it? I mean, I think we need a little bit more background on that. Why or what it, where would we put it?
Okay, so all she's requesting is to add it to section 6. That's all I have in front of me, but I see Mary and I see Jason, so I'll go with Mary and then I go with Jason. Mary.
Yeah, I mean, we're not listing all of the commissions in the charter, or we haven't in the past, right? So if we list one, aren't we supposed to list all then?
And then do we limit ourselves for not changing them or adding them or combining them?
Because, I mean, certain ones are going to be forever, right? Your disability it would be, but also too, we're living in a community that's a dynamic environment. So within 10 years, there's going to be the need for another commission. Look at, we ended up realizing we needed a disability commission. It wasn't written into the charter, and we had the flexibility to create it midterm, you know. I'm not sure we need to write everything into the charter, and because I do think sometimes that holds a community back from being innovative and entrepreneurial unto itself.
Thanks, Mary. Jason.
Mary captured my comments.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Mary captured my comments.
Okay. Okay, so if anybody feels strongly in favor or against, before I close that speaking portion? Okay, so now we'll take it for a vote. A yes vote is that you want to add the Chelsea Disability Commission to the charter. A no vote is you want to leave it as is. So anyone want to speak on their vote? Okay, so that being said, I'll open the vote, and I will say yes. Leo Robinson?
No.
Calvin Brown?
Present.
Okay. Melinda Vega Maldonado?
She stated she had to put her kids down and was logging off.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Jason. So just for the record, again, please don't put things on chat because they have to be public for the record. But the chat reads, thank you, Jason, the chat reads, I have to step off. So the commissioner had to step off to put the kids to bed. Okay, so absent. Todd Taylor. Todd Taylor, yes or no? Todd Taylor is absent. So we move on to Rosemary Carlisle.
Present.
I'm sorry?
I said present.
Okay. Yesenia Alfaro. Yesenia Alfaro, yes or no? Yesenia, you're on mute. Is it a yes or is it a no? Jasenia, going once, going twice, marking you as absent. Henry Wilson. Henry Wilson, yes or no? You're on mute.
He's off.
He's off. Okay, guys.
He had another meeting he had to go to.
Alex Marcarcel?
Yes.
Okay. Mary Burke?
No.
Okay, Jason Stalker?
No.
Okay, Charlene is absent. Mimi?
No, and I just got a text from Todd saying his computer died.
I'm sorry?
I just got a text from Todd. He said his computer died.
Oh, okay. So Todd, the commissioner, member of the commission, Todd Taylor, has technical difficulties. Thanks for that, Mimi. And you said no, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 absent. And 2 yes. So our rules say that any motion that has majority present in favor passes. So majority is a no, so the motion is denied. Okay. And now we move on to the last portion of the meeting. But before we discuss this,
Councilor Garcia,
Yes?
do we still have quorum if all of these people have left the meeting?
thank you, Jason. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, we do have
Okay.
quorum. 7, 8, 9, 10. So yes, we do have
Okay.
quorum. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. And these things happen, guys. I am going to ask for a 5-minute recess before we continue with the last item of discussion. The last item is a bit long. I want to make sure that we have productive conversation on it. So I'm asking for a 5-minute recess, and we will be right back. Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for that 5-minute break. I hope that it was helpful for all of you to get a nice little stretch before we discuss the last item of our agenda. So I see some folks, if you can turn on your cameras to let me know that you have been seated. I know that the members who are present here in person are seated and here, so thank you, Leo Robinson. Thank you, Alex, for being here today. And for my members who are joining us virtually, when you turn on your camera, you're giving me a signal that you are ready to roll for our last item on the agenda. We will begin shortly. This again is the last item. Meanwhile, we wait for everyone else to turn on their camera once you're back. I will go back to what we were discussing for members who are watching from home. We have been actively discussing sections 4 through 6. We have discussed everything, and now after a 5-minute break, we are resuming with the last item that was presented to us by our city resident, along with, I should also say, our recently elected council president, Roy Avellaneda, has introduced and presented a motion in front of us, a recommendation for section 6.4. So it seems that everyone is trickling back from the 5-minute break. So we have a quorum, so I will begin reading what we have in front of us. So it's a long one, so here we go. Roy Avellaneda, section 6.4, makes section 6.4 personnel administration the zoning board of appeals section and creates section 6.5 as personnel administration. The new section 6.4 zoning board of appeals should read as follows. So there was an entire section presented to us, and I would read as it was presented to us by Roy Avellaneda. Section 6-4, zoning board of appeal. There shall be a zoning board of appeals consisting of 5 members, all of whom shall be residents of the city of Chelsea. The board shall annually choose a chair from among its members. The city manager may appoint an associate member to serve when a regular member is absent. The director of planning and development or his/her designee shall serve as administrative assistant to the board to provide advice and guidance to the board on all matters that required a board vote. Section B, the Zoning Board of Appeals hears and decides individual cases brought by persons seeking relief from the requirements of the zoning ordinance, all as provided for the state legislation and by the city zoning ordinance. Specifically, the board hears and decides cases which involve variances from the zoning ordinance. It also hears and decides applications for special permits and special permits for planned developments. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a regulatory multiple-member body of the city. All special permits issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals shall become effective on the 30th day after the day on which notice of the special permit was filed with the City Council, unless the City Council votes within that period by supermajority of the full City Council to reject the issuance of the special permit, or unless the City Council sooner votes to affirm it. If the notice of the approved special permit is filed after the City Council has recessed for longer than 30 days, then the special permit, if not acted upon, shall become effective the day after the next scheduled City Council meeting. Interrelationships. A, City Council. The Zoning Board of Appeals interacts with the City Council Committee, which addresses matters concerning planning and development policy in order to regularly apprise said committee on current activities and concerns of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Section B, City Manager. The Zoning Board of Appeals interacts with the city manager and the administrative organization primarily through the Planning and Development Department, which provides administrative, technical, and clerical staff support for the purpose to the board and coordinates interaction with the municipal inspections, public works, police, and fire departments, and the Licensing and Consumer Affairs Division. Section C, other boards. The Zoning Board of Appeals interacts with the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, the Economic Development Board, the Traffic and Parking Commission, and the Licensing Commission in order to accomplish the board's responsibilities. End of recommendation presented. So as you may all have in front of you, I hope you were following along. I know it was a lot to read, but that is the recommendation that has been presented to us. Essentially what you would be voting on is to add this to section 6 as presented. So I will not be opening the floor for the author of the petition to provide more information. He clearly provided that information during the public speaking portion. Now I will only allow the members of this commission to discuss or to ask any questions to our city solicitor if there's any clarifying details that you want. So, any takers, any comments, any strong opinions, emotions? Jason.
Well, I guess one piece is Cheryl alluded to when we were in the previous section about that we might not have authority to make these changes that are outlined here. So I guess I have trouble voting on it unless we know for sure or not if we even have the authority to give these rights to the city council to vote on these matters coming out of the zoning board.
Cheryl. I think she's thinking.
Well, I'm just, well, first of all, what's before you is the first time I'm reading it. And the scheme is that an individual person seeking a special permit would go through the normal special permit process, which the city council has adopted as a zoning process. And then after that, within 30 days, the city councilors get to negotiate more. It doesn't make any sense to me, but then not only do they then get to negotiate more or seek more mitigation, who gets the final approving on the special permit, and how do the public and those members and the butters get to appeal it? So those are things I need to look at to see if this process is legal and does it make sense. So I can't recommend this legally right now. I also don't understand why city councilors need to seek mitigation when that's not their job. That is that of the city manager and that of the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, so I will.
Yeah.
No, please, Cheryl, please continue.
I think that this city has a history of hoping that the public, it takes more involvement. Because the city councilors don't like what the ZBA does, they have the authority not to approve the appointments that the city manager gave them, which again, I think is against the charter, but he did give them authority to approve the appointments. So at this point, you're putting developers and property owners through quite a bit of a process that I gotta determine whether or not it's legal. I don't know if it's legal, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so when you say, and just for clarifications, Mary, you will be next, but just for clarifications before it slips my mind, when you say you don't know if it's legal, would it mean you would need more time to look into it, or do you mean, what does that mean?
It means I need to research it.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the transparency. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Mary, I see your hand, so I'll let you speak. And Leo, did you have your hand up? So I'll go with Mary first, and then I'll go with Leo. Mary.
Yeah, I think I'm going back to the same questions I had in the summer. And so when I first read it in the summer, I was confused. And I had some questions. And at the time, I got what I thought was clarification, but I'm back to being confused. Mm-hmm. So I think the question, I think clarification in basically in a summary form, it's almost like, what is the big ask? And then how does this ask differ from what's taking place now? And so it may be the wording of this that needs to, for clarity. Yeah, I think that's where I'm struggling.
Mary, are you directing the question to Cheryl, or would you like to hear it from the author of the motion?
Well, I thought you said that Roy couldn't talk, so I guess I was doing Cheryl tag you in.
Well,
So,
how about
can you just be specific as to what you're asking me, Mary? I'm sorry.
What is 6.6-4, the new 6-4? What is it doing? What is it changing that is currently in practice?
So most of it is in practice, except for, well, that's that paragraph that says all special permits become effective on the 30th day after the day on which notice of the special permit was filed with the city council. Special permits don't get filed with the city council. They get filed with the city clerk's office. So that whole paragraph there, I'm not sure. I see what the city councilor wants, Roy has requested. I just want to make sure it's legal. I'm not saying, and it's different than the process that we currently have. Under state law, you file with the city clerk's office. So I know that's not going to happen. It might have to happen in conjunction, because once the special permit granting authority makes a decision, you have so many days to appeal that decision. So I have to look into that because it's less than the 30 days. So it's kind of weird. So I just want to double check that section. I don't know it off the top of my head. This is new to me.
okay?
There's a lot of chatter in the background there.
Okay. So first, let me give the floor to Leo because I know he has questions, and then before I give it to Leo. Then if you guys feel strongly and you have questions to the author who is present, we can take a vote to see if you guys want him to speak. The reason why, and I want to clarify, the reason why I was not going to allow for him to speak was because he had an opportunity to speak during the public speaking portion, and that was the time where he could state his case. But if you guys feel that in order to make a decision and take a vote, you'd like to ask some questions to the author, then we will take a vote to see if he can speak. But that being said, I will give the floor to the appointed member of the commission, Leo Robinson.
I would ask if we could move this to the next meeting so that if some people do have some questions, I have a couple of things I'd like to be able to study and look at.
Okay.
If that's a possibility, and if that's how
Okay, so
people want to go that way.
Thank you.
I would suggest that.
Thank you. So I think for this specific case, let's take a vote to move it to the next meeting. And the reason I say that is because, and I want to clarify it for the public, the reason why we didn't take a vote for the last motion presented to us was because it was very clear in terms why we couldn't vote on it. And that's why we didn't allow to table it, because this body we did not agree on our rules to table any motions in front of us. So that's why I did not take that to a vote. We will take this to a vote. I will allow the members here to take it to a vote to move it to a next meeting. And that is simply because our city solicitor needs to make research. She does not have the answer to some of the questions that our commissioners here have. And that's totally fair. She's being due diligent and she's saying she'll do the research. So given that she needs more time for that, let's take a vote for the matter that Leo just proposed. Go ahead, Leo.
But also to give Roy the opportunity to answer questions that people might have.
Perfect.
At the next meeting, so that people can review it and have some comments.
Great. So thank you, Leo. So that clarifies it for us. We're going to take a vote to move this to the next meeting. And that is simply because our city solicitor needs to do research to be able to answer some of the questions that you guys may have. So, Jason, I see your hand. Go ahead, Jason.
Can we take a vote on first whether or not we can ask Roy questions now, and then we could additionally table it later? Because I just wonder if us asking him questions is then going to spur us to do additional research, you know, as we think about it? Or do we think asking questions now and then having to ask questions again in 2 weeks is too many questions and we've belabored it? I don't know.
Okay, would you guys prefer to ask questions now? Okay, perfect. So let's take it for a vote. So I'll let you guys ask questions now, and let's take the questions now, and then we vote on, actually, let's move it. Let's vote on moving this to a second meeting and ask questions. Is that okay? Does that order work for you guys? You guys will ask questions today, so I'll let you guys ask questions today. So let's vote on that first. Do you guys want to ask questions today? A yes vote means yes, and a no, it means you don't want to ask any questions today. So I'll start with Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson?
No.
No? Calvin Brown? Calvin, yes or no for questions today? Councilor Brown, yes or no? Okay, I'll mark you as absent. Melinda Vega Maldonado, questions today, yes or no? Absent. Todd Taylor, questions today, yes or no? Okay, so whoever has not unmuted yourself, please mute yourself. We can hear the news in the background.
Judith, before you take a vote, do you have a quorum?
That's a great question. Let's see. I was hoping. I wasn't expecting people to log off here. So let's see here. We have 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Yesenia needs to be unmuted.
Okay. Please, when I ask for your vote, unmute yourself. When you're not voting, mute yourself. Todd Taylor. We agreed that Todd Taylor is not, so he's absent. Rosemary Carlisle.
Nope.
Is that a no?
No.
Okay. Yesenia Alfaro, please unmute yourself. Yes or no?
She keeps asking for you to unmute her on chat.
Please, IT to unmute Yesenia. Okay, for the record, she's having technical difficulties. For the record, she added no on the chat. For the record, her vote is no. She's unmuted. Yesenia, you're unmuted. Can you put the volume on your phone or whatever device you're on? For the record, she said no. Henry Wilson, yes or no to ask questions?
He left the meeting at another meeting.
Okay, thank you guys. Absent as well. Alex Barcarcel, yes or no? Yes? Okay, Mary Burke, yes or no?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Charlene McLean is absent. Mimi Racantor, yes or no?
No.
Okay, so we have, actually, this one's going to be a tough one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 no's, and we have 4 yeses with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 absent.
It fails.
So it fails because...
But we should ask Councilor Avellaneda to come back next time.
Okay, so we're moving this so now we're going to vote on moving it to the next meeting. So Councilor Avellaneda, if you feel strongly about it, please come back, but we're going to vote on it. So voting on moving this to the next meeting, a yes vote is moving it to the next meeting. A no vote is not moving it to the next meeting. So Judith Garcia, yes. Leo Robinson.
Yes.
Calvin Brown. Calvin Brown is absent. Melinda Vega Maldonado. Melinda Vega Maldonado, absent. Todd Taylor. I believe he had technical difficulties. Rosemary Carlisle, second meeting. Moving it to a second meeting, is that a yes or a no? Please unmute yourself. Rosemary, you're on mute. Is that a yes or a no? Give me a thumbs up for the record, if it's a yes or a no. Rosemary. Rosemary, I'm still with you. Thumbs up if it's a yes, thumbs down if it's a no. Rosemary?
Move it to a next meeting, yes.
Is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay, got it. You were on mute, so I couldn't hear you. Yesenia Alfaro, yes or no? Yesenia Alfaro, yes or no? Please unmute yourself. Okay, for the record, she is saying yes on chat. Henry Wilson, yes or no? And I believe he stepped out on a meeting. Thank you, Leo. Alex Bercasal, yes or no?
Yes.
Mary Burke, yes or no?
Yes.
Jason Stalker?
Yes.
Charlene McLean? And she's absent, sorry guys. And Mimi Racantor?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone with the few absents, everyone voted in favor of moving this to a second meeting. And again, for clarification, everyone at home, we're moving it to a second meeting because city solicitor needs to do research on it, and the commissioners here do not feel strongly on voting on something they don't have the answers to. So for the record, for the next meeting, the author of this recommendation, if you can please come and answer questions that the commissioners here may have, and hopefully by then we will have answers from Cheryl. Jason, I see your hand up.
If we have additional questions for Cheryl that we want researched, can we ask her that offline, or is that something we should address here? I just don't know what the protocol is.
You can email me or ask me offline.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and just for the record, guys, yeah, that's definitely great. So feel free to ask her questions. Just CC me on it so I can have a copy and I can make sure that we read it during the we read it during the meeting itself. So
Whoa. You can ask me a legal question and it's confidential. It doesn't have to be public.
Oh, really? Okay, so they can ask you questions that don't have to be public.
But if they want to share what they learned from me, I don't mind. What I'm just saying is that,
Okay, that's a good clarification. Because
Because one-on-one, you don't violate open meeting.
Got it. Okay, good. That clarifies things for me because I was under the impression that the confidential, client confidential aspect was just between council, city, and you. But I guess it's open to everyone.
City employees, board members.
Excellent. Okay, so that's a great question. All right, so if you want, for any purpose, if any of you guys want to share it with the public, that what you learned, you can feel free to share it, but you don't have to, according to city solicitor. So thank you, everyone, for being so diligent and prudent and asking incredible questions today. We've covered the big chunk of discussion. We've covered sections 4 through 6 today. The next 2 meetings should be smooth sailing. The topics are not as heavily, as a lot of content as tonight did have. So thank you everyone for being so prudent, asking questions and moving this to a second meeting. And again, thank you, City Solicitor, for being fully transparent on having to do research. And lastly, I also want to thank the staff who are, again, behind the scenes, making sure that this is streamed live and to accommodate many of you that have to be at home doing this virtually due to COVID. I know that we are off to a turbulent day today. Today was a very turbulent day in our history for our country, as I said at the beginning of this meeting. So I hope that all of you go out there and catch up, and hopefully we can keep the residents of Washington, D.C., the staff members, the elected officials in our prayers and in our thoughts as everything continues to unravel. I wish everyone a good night, and thank you again for serving the city of Chelsea. This is a very important task that we all have. This only happens once every 10 years, and all of you guys have been committed, invested, and you've been a part of amazing dialogue. So thank you very much, and I will see you at the next meeting, which will be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.
Happy New Year. Everybody.
Happy New Year, everyone.